Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Story 1. I never believed in ghost stories. Not really. I thought people made them up to pass time around campfires, to scare kids, or to sell books. But that was before I went to Black Hollow Creek. I'd found it buried deep in the pages of an old geology magazine, a place barely marked on the map, somewhere in Oregon's untamed stretch of forest. It was described as a rare convergence of volcanic rock formations, shaped by time and water. That was enough to hook me. I'd been needing a break from the noise of the city, from Portland's endless buzz, and this spot promised seclusion, nature, and, most importantly, silence. I took a week off work, loaded up my pack, and headed out alone. The hike to Black Hollow wasn't easy. It was rugged, winding through thick woods with trails that looked more like deer paths than anything man-made. I didn't mind. I was used to the outdoors, and the deeper I went, the more excited I got. It was like chasing something secret, something nobody else had seen in years. I arrived just before sundown. The creek was exactly how I imagined. Narrow, glinting silver under the fading sky, flanked by moss-covered stones and tall evergreens. The air smelled clean, fresh. I set up my tent near a bend in the creek where the water flowed slowly and quietly. That first night was peaceful, the kind of quiet that feels like a balm on your soul. I sat by the fire for a while, watched the stars come out, then turned in early. No strange noises, no bad dreams. The second night was different. It started sometime after midnight. I was asleep, half dreaming, when I heard a sound that pulled me awake. A whimper, soft, low, like a child crying far off in the woods. I sat up in my sleeping bag, heart already thudding harder than it should have. At first, I thought it was an animal, a coyote maybe, but there was something off about it. The sound was too controlled, too human. I unzipped the tent and stepped out, flashlight in hand. The night was cold and still. Mist floated just above the grass. I could hear the creek whispering nearby. Then the whimper came again, closer now. It was coming from the bank. I followed the sound, stepping carefully over tree roots and wet leaves, until I reached a clearing by the water. That's when I saw it. The stones by the creek, dozens of them, had been arranged into a perfect circle. Not a sloppy pile or random formation. A clean, measured, geometric circle. At the center, the ground was blackened, charred as if burned, but no sign of a fire, no ashes, just black earth. Then I heard it again, a scream, loud, raw. It didn't echo like a normal scream. It punched the air and vanished all at once, like someone had screamed into my ear and disappeared. I stumbled back, nearly dropping my flashlight, and then the stones began to move. Not roll, not shift, vibrate. A humming filled the air, low and steady, like the sound you get when you press your ear against a running refrigerator. My flashlight flickered, then it died. I stood frozen. My breath came in short, panic bursts. And in that moment, standing alone, blind in the woods, I felt something rise from the center of that circle. I didn't see it at first, just a shape, darker than the darkness around it. It rose slowly, like smoke from a fire, stretching tall until it towered over the stones. It wasn't human. It wasn't animal. It had no face, no features, just a presence, thick and cold, like something had stepped through from another place. It didn't move. It didn't speak. It just watched me, and I could feel in my bones that it wanted me to step inside the circle. I ran. I don't remember how I found my way back to the tent. I don't even remember taking it down. I just remember grabbing what I could and stumbling through the trees until I reached the trail, then driving with muddy boots, shaking hands, and a pounding heart all the way back to Portland. When I got home, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't even sit still. I kept hearing that scream in my head over and over again. It was like it had carved itself into my brain. The next day, I went to the library and started digging through old newspapers and local archives. That's when I found it. Black Hollow Creek. 3 people had gone missing there in the 1980s. 2 hikers and a park ranger. All found weeks later in the exact same spot, laid out in a circle of scorched earth and stones. No cause of death ever determined. Their bodies weren't burned, but the earth around them was black. Just like what I saw. There was a line in the report that still makes my stomach twist. It said, "No signs of struggle, no injuries, just open eyes and frozen expressions of terror." I haven't camped alone since. Hell, I barely go into the woods anymore. Because now I know the stories are real. Some places don't want to be visited. Some places remember you. And some stones scream because they've been watching for centuries. And they're tired of being ignored. Story 2. When I was 17, I thought I knew fear. You know, the usual teenage stuff, exams, breakups, the idea of being stuck in your hometown forever. That kind of fear is clean. It makes sense. But real fear doesn't. It lives in silence. It waits in the places where you're not supposed to be. And it found me deep in the Colorado Rockies. It was supposed to be a weekend of bonding. Just me and my cousin, Alex. His dad had taken him to this spot when he was a kid, some old clearing off the grid, away from campgrounds and civilization. No reception, no roads, just raw wilderness. The hiking was brutal. For hours, steep incline, patches of trail overgrown and forgotten. We carried everything on our backs: tent, stove, sleeping bags, food. The air was thin and cold, even in the middle of July. But when we reached the clearing, I had to admit, it was beautiful. Towering pines framed the sky, which opened like a dark blue ocean above us. There was a stream nearby, plenty of firewood. It felt like we'd stumbled into a hidden world untouched by time. That first night, we set up camp and sat by the fire roasting marshmallows, sharing stories, mostly about high school, dumb stuff. We laughed a lot. It felt good to be disconnected from everything. No buzzing phones, no streetlights, just stars and the crackle of flame. The second night was different. The air was colder. Still, even the forest felt hushed, like it was holding its breath. We were back at the fire again when we heard it, branches snapping in the woods. Not once, not twice, but rhythmic. Crunch, pause, crunch, pause. It sounded like someone pacing just beyond the reach of the firelight. Alex looked up from his marshmallow stick. "Probably a deer," he muttered. But he didn't sound convinced. Neither was I. We listened. The footsteps continued for a bit, then stopped. I cracked a joke to break the tension, Something stupid about Bigfoot needing to wear boots. The footsteps stopped immediately. Dead silence. Alex looked at me, eyes wide. He didn't say a word. We waited. A minute passed. Then two. And then, crunch. It started again. Closer this time. My skin prickled. It wasn't just the sound. It was the pattern. Like it was waiting for us to talk. Like it knew. I leaned toward Alex. Whispered. You hear that? The forest went still. Not a leaf moved. No owl calls. Not even the sound of wind. Just a heavy, pressing silence. We didn't move. Barely breathed. Crunch. Right behind the nearest tree. Maybe 15 feet away. And that's when I saw him. A figure. Tall. Thin. Standing between the trunks like a smear of shadow. I couldn't see his face. Hell, I couldn't even see if he had one. But he was there. Watching. No flashlight. No gear. No reason to be out there. Just standing. Hello. I called out, my voice cracking. He took one slow step backward, like he was melting into the forest. And then he was gone. We stared at that spot for what felt like hours. Finally, we moved, dragged the firewood into a pile, stoked it high, and sat with our backs to each other, clutching what little we had for weapons. Alex held a hatchet. I held a frying pan. We didn't sleep. All night, we heard movement, circling, sometimes soft, sometimes obvious. At one point, I swore I heard breathing just outside the tent. Slow, wet, almost like a whisper. At dawn, when the light finally touched the clearing, we crawled out. Bare footprints surrounded the tent. Dozens of them. No shoes. No socks. Just long, pale feet. Human feet. We were at least 12 miles from the nearest ranger station. Even farther from any town. We packed everything in under 15 minutes. Didn't speak a word. The hike back was tense. Every snapped twig made us jump. We never saw him again, but that didn't matter. His presence never left. Back home, we didn't tell anyone. We even avoided talking to each other about it. I think we both hoped ignoring it would make it go away. But silence doesn't erase memory. It feeds it. It's been years since that night. We both moved on in our own ways. But sometimes when I walk past a row of trees, or when I'm alone in the woods with my dog, I feel it again, that prickle, that feeling of being watched by something just beyond the light. And I always wonder, what would have happened if we'd gone to sleep that night? What if we let our guard down? What if we still do? Because the man in the tree lean, he's still out there. And I think he's waiting for someone else to forget. Story 3. We just wanted some peace. That's all it was. A weekend away from the constant hum of city life, the flashing screens, and the late-night door slams of our apartment complex. My girlfriend Rachel had booked us a 2-night trip near Mount Baker in Washington, a little-known trail, not too far off the main roads, but far enough to feel like we were stepping into a different world. A quieter one, a safer one, or so I thought. The first day was perfect. We pitched the tent beside a shallow stream, tall trees stretching up around us like wooden sentinels. We built a fire, ate marshmallows until our stomachs hurt, and watched the stars roll in like an ocean above us. That night, we fell asleep to the sounds of frogs and wind brushing the pines. The second night was different. There was something off about the silence. We were sitting by the fire after dinner. Rachel was poking at the logs with a stick, her face glowing orange in the firelight. Then she stopped, just froze. "Do you see that?" she asked. I followed her gaze to the ridge just beyond the stream. Thick woods lined the hill, and between the trunks, I saw it, a faint yellow light, bobbing gently from side to side, maybe 100 yards away. At first, I thought it might be another camper. But who hikes with a lantern in 2025? It looked old-fashioned, like something out of a black and white movie. "Probably someone looking for a campsite," I said. "A bit late for that, though." We watched it in silence. The lantern moved slowly between two trees, then stopped. It didn't sway anymore, just held perfectly still. Then, as if yanked by an invisible string, it rose into the air. It hovered 6, maybe 7 feet above the ground, before flickering once and disappearing. No footsteps, no sound, just gone. Rachel let out a nervous laugh, the kind that doesn't come from being amused, but from being afraid and trying to hide it. "That's weird," she whispered. "Maybe it was a drone." I offered, even though I didn't believe it. We both pretended not to be scared. We crawled into the tent, zipped it up. She curled against me, and I told her it was probably nothing. But I didn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I heard it. Crunch, snap, crunch. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, circling the tent. My breath caught in my throat. I gently sat up, trying not to wake Rachel, but she was already awake. I felt her hand gripping my arm. "They're walking around," she whispered. I reached for the flashlight, unzipped the flap, and stepped out into the dark. My beam sliced through the trees. Nothing. No person. No animal. Not even a breeze. But the smell. It hit me like a wall. Smoke. Burnt wood. Kerosene. Like an old fire had just been extinguished. The air tasted metallic. I checked the perimeter. Every bush. Every tree. Still nothing. I went back inside. We didn't sleep after that. At sunrise, we packed everything in record time, folding tent poles with shaking hands, barely speaking, hearts racing to get out of there. That's when we saw it. By the fire pit, half buried in ash and dirt, was a charred piece of lantern wick. Old, black, frayed at the edge. The metal at its base was rusted and cracked. We didn't own a lantern. Neither of us had ever packed one. Rachel just stared at it, then looked up at me. "Let's go," she said. No breakfast, no coffee, just the winding trail back to the car, checking over our shoulders the whole way. Back at home, I couldn't let it go. I went online, started searching Mount Baker. Forest fires, missing hikers. It took hours, but I found something. A newspaper article from 1938. A park ranger named Thomas Blake had gone missing during a wildfire that swept through the area. He'd been evacuating campers, guiding them with a kerosene lantern. The fire changed direction suddenly. They found the campers he led to safety, but they never found Thomas. They say he vanished in the smoke, still running with that lantern in his hand. Some locals believe he's still there, searching the woods, trying to warn campers, trying to find his way out. And sometimes, if the night is quiet enough, you might see his light. But if you do, don't follow it. And for God's sake, don't speak his name.